Hi, in our previous video we looked at the evolution of twin lens reflex cameras and the Rolleiflex, and in this video, the slight follow-up video, we're going to take a look at alternative twin lens cameras. I'm with John Wade, who's our classics camera expert on AP, and these are cameras again from your private collection, John. So where are we going to start?
Well, what we're looking at basically is people who took the idea of the twin lens reflex but said we're not going to make it like a Rollie. And one of the interesting things is that three manufacturers produced between them 4 cameras which actually folded. So a folding twin lens reflex was quite unusual. This is the smallest of them. This is a camera called the Pilot, which unfolds like that. And it was made for 127 film. And it's a true twin lens reflex, but it's got an interesting method of running the film through the camera with this little lever here. But it is very cleverly geared. So you know how when you run film, it gets the roll gets thinner and thinner at one end and thicker at the other end. Yeah. So it's very easy for the images to be spaced wrongly. Well, this is geared so that in each time it winds it just a little bit further or a little bit less. Right, okay. And they're all perfectly, that's the theory anyway. But it took 127 film, took I think 3 by 4 centimetre pictures on it, and it's a twin lens reflex. Got the viewfinder up there. And there you are.
And where is this made?
This was made in Germany by a company, KW, they're called, Camera Werkstätten. Okay. And that was made in something like 1931.
Okay. Quite an early one then.
Yeah, so you can use it like that. And of course, unlike most twin lens reflexes, which take square pictures, you might have occasion to want to take a landscape or a portrait. Of course, so using that, the viewfinder there, you
because that'd be awkward using it that way.
It's awkward. You can fairly comfortably turn it on its side, which you wouldn't really want to do with a more traditional Rolleiflex.
Yeah. Okay. The Pilot.
It's a Pilot. Yeah. Now, also in Germany, and we're coming now to about 1934.
Doesn't stand up, does that? Put it down.
Yeah, put it that way. Yeah. A company called Welta in Germany. It also made a folding twin lens reflex, the more the traditional size of 12 on 120, but very small like that, could slip into a very large pocket. And if you press the correct button on the side, out she comes like that. And a little foot which would fold down from underneath so it'll stand up like that. And there suddenly you've got a full-sized twin lens reflex which would quite comfortably fit into a very large pocket. Okay. Focusing on there.
It's an odd thing, isn't it?
Yeah. So the focusing is odd as well. You know, so if I turn the focusing ring like that, taking lens is going round and round. The upper lens is going backwards and forwards. That's the same effect. Yeah. But differently geared.
The gearing's at the back, I guess you can't see it.
So very clever German engineering there. But again, it took square pictures, 6 on 120 film, but it folded, and that was its.
It looks like something homemade, doesn't it? It has that look of like they've taken half of one camera.
Yes, it does.
And attached it to something else.
Yes, you've seen nothing yet, so I get to the next one. Okay. Yeah, you focus it on here.
Oh, this little wheel.
You turn that, just the radial wheel.
Oh, I see. That's
it. That's going round and round, and the upper lens is going in and out. So,
Welta.
Yes. So again, traditionally, like most TLRs, 120 film, 12 on square pictures. But the same company produced a camera for 6 by 9. And again, it folded. If I press this on here, it folds in much the same way.
There's a bigger version of the same thing.
Bigger version, but unfolds in much the same way. Viewfinder on the top, but takes 6 by 9 because it's got a 9 back on it. The only problem, of course, is if you're going an oblong 6 by 9 format, you might want to take landscape pictures. So you do that.
Okay.
Or if you don't want to do that, you've got a viewfinder here on the side, you can do that. But basically,
rotating back.
Rotating back. Hasn't gone quite into position, but it will. There we go. And that was called the Superfecta, around about the same era as the Perfecta.
So do you just twist it? Literally just twist it?
Yeah. I have a collector's story about this camera, which would appeal to collectors rather than users. Is I always wanted one, and a friend of mine had one which was in really bad condition. The hood was hanging off. It was scraped. It even had the wrong lenses on it.
Right.
But he bought a good one, and he said, "Do you want my old one? You can have it for 25 quid." So I had it because I had to have it. The years went past, and I found this version at an auction. And I paid a lot of money for it. I paid just over £400 for it. And then I put my really bad, tatty, broken one on eBay, and I got 400 quid for it.
Wow, so this is free,
at the end of the
effectively.
day, that cost me about £2.50.
And then the 25 quid one, it went to 400.
Yeah.
Wow. So even a tatty one, 400 quid. So this must be quite a high
I mean,
value camera.
it was more than tatty. This was hanging off. It had the wrong lenses on it, and it was scraped. But there you go.
It's obviously a very collectible camera, though.
It is, but it's but whoever bought it for the same reason I bought it, just to have one.
Yeah. Right. Nice.
Well, so the Superfecta and the Perfecta were both made by Welta, so they both made a folding camera. Only one other company ever made a folding TLR, and that was a company called Zeh, I think it's pronounced Z-E-H, in Germany. And they produced this little marvel. Again, in the previous video, we talked about one of the most valuable cameras in my collection. This is the other one.
Is it really?
I had wanted one of these for many, many years and had to pay a lot of money for it. But that's beside the point. But it is a folding TLR.
So what makes this one so valuable?
Rare. Yeah, very rare. So all I have to do is press the correct button. And now, if anyone ever buys one of these, they'll look, oh, it's not all the way down. What you don't do is try to force that down. You accept that that's correct, and then you pull this up along it, like that, and it clicks into place. And this is a Zeca-Flex, and it's a marvel of engineering, because as you can see, there's the taking lens coming out on bellows. There's the viewing lens, which stays where it is. Two different focal lengths. Again, we had this in a Concava we talked about in a previous video. Because one of the problems with folding twin lens reflexes is the viewfinders, by necessity, are big. So when you fold it, you can't make the viewfinder smaller. No. What they did with this was they made the viewfinder smaller than the actual image, so that it looked better when it was folded, and then geared the two together so that they would focus correctly with different focal lengths on each lens. And and there we go. So that was called a Zeca-Flex. It focuses there. And that's about it, but it is a bit rare.
What period would this be?
That is 1938.
I presume it wasn't a huge success because it wouldn't be so rare, would it, if there was a lot of them sold?
No, I don't think it's very successful. Of course, 1938 was not a good year for producing new cameras, because in 1939 there was a little bit of mischief. Germany didn't do so well in the camera manufacturing industry. And after, I don't think Zeh, whatever they're called, I don't think they survived post-war. So they did make one other little folding camera, which is a lot like the bottom bit of this without the other one on top. And the story of this, I bought this in France from a dealer, and then went off with it and showed it to a few collector friends I was having coffee with. And they said, "Oh, that's nice, how does it fold?" And I had to go back to the dealer because I didn't know how to fold it. And what you have to do is you press these two little buttons on the back at the same time as you fold it. And up she goes.
It's funny what things are valuable, because if I was a burglar coming in house and amongst all your hundreds of cameras, and I was going to go, I'm going to nick the most valuable ones.
Yes.
I probably would not look at that one.
No, and you probably wouldn't take the compass either, which is about that size.
People, unless you know, people have picked the ones that look valuable.
A friend of mine did have a burglary, and they took a lot of cameras, but they left the Hasselblads.
Really?
And obviously they knew what they were doing. They think, oh, we can't shift these.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's not
There's the Concava is one you probably would think that looks
Because
like
it
it's
looks so
about
nice, doesn't it? Yes, yeah. So that's taken us up to the war. So post-war, things changed quite a lot. Now at Agfa, they produced some interesting twin lens reflexes for 35mm. This one is called the Flexilette, and it's got a waist level viewfinder, which I think will come up if I press that. There we go. And it's a 35mm TLR. So you can see it's got two lenses. But unless you looked at those two lenses, you'd probably think it was just a...
It's like they put it inside one outer lens.
Yes, you think it's
the design-wise.
quite a normal sort of compact camera.
Yeah.
It's,
Agfa.
Yeah, this is an Agfa Flexilette. Yep, off she goes. So that's...
and I presume this is post-war. Is this the sort of...
That's post-war.
Later?
That's post-war. That is 1961-ish.
61, okay.
They took it a step further and turned it into an eye-level version. So again, if you didn't notice there were twin lenses in there, you'd think it was a single lens reflex. But again, like all else, it's a twin lens reflex, but it's an eye-level version.
So this is called the Flexilette, but they didn't call that a Flexilette.
They called it the Optima reflex. Now the Optima, which they produced just before it, just a non-reflex camera, but was the first with programmed automation, and they transferred it into this. Now, I've done a lot of looking into this, and I've never found an explanation of how it works. I'm going to tell you what it does, but I don't know how it does it. And I've always had to write it down because it's complicated and I can never remember it.
I'll have a look at it while
you do that. Okay. So you start by setting the film speed on the top in the normal way.
Mm.
The shutter speed and aperture default to 1/2 of a second at f/22.
Mm.
As light levels are measured by a selenium meter, you can see there above the lens, the shutter remains at a 2/50th while the apertures steplessly open until they reach f8. When they reach f8, the apertures and shutter combine and change together until they got correct exposure, until it reaches the 30th at 2.8. I don't know how it works, but I'm reliably informed that's what it does. Now, if we're really looking at twin lens reflexes that don't look like twin lens reflexes, we need to look at this is a Minicord. And this was made in Austria by a company called Goerz. Now, there was a German camera manufacturer called Goerz, who were one of four that joined together to form Zeiss Icon, different company. This is made by Goerz in Austria, and it's a twin lens reflex made to take 16mm film, which it takes in these little cassettes, like that. And that goes in there, it goes in there. Eye level, look down into it like that, looks out of that lens. There's your take-in lens. You can take that out so that you can hold it like that and shoot fast. That winds the film, that takes a picture. Winds the film. And it does have the quietest shutter you've ever heard. I will tell you that this is working. That was the shutter got firing.
Nice bit of engineering, isn't it?
It is, lovely, isn't it? There is another slightly rarer version in brown leather rather than black, which looks really smart. Yeah, it is. Now,
good for wedding photographers.
yeah, yes, you can use it in the church, no problem. Hold that away and it will stand up. Now, we spoke in a previous video about a gentleman called Jakub Bogopolski.
Mm.
And I didn't say much in that one, but I'll say more now. He was born in Ukraine. He emigrated all over the place, but he went to Switzerland where he practically invented the Bolex cine cameras, which were really good professional cameras, and he sold that idea to Payard, which is a Swiss company who took it over. He also designed the first Alpa cameras.
Okay.
Sold that idea to a company called Pignons, and they took the Alpa further. And then he went to America. And when he was in America, but gradually over the years, he began changing his name. So Jakub Bogopolski became Jacques Bolsey, which is a lot easier.
Okay.
And he produced a whole line of little compact 35mm cameras in America called the Bolsey B, Bolsey C, etc. But one of them he produced as a twin lens reflex. And this is the Bolsey C. And again, it's got everything you expect about a twin lens reflex. Top lens reflects its image up to the viewfinder, bottom lens takes the picture. But this particular model is actually not the C2, it's the C22. And the reason for that is it's got a little piece of device in it called the Zeca-Flex. Now, this revolves around there as you're focusing. So that focuses the lens,
right.
and you can see them both going in and out to focus in the normal way. But while you're doing that, that's moving as well. But if you move it up, it engages with the aperture scale. So as you focus, it changes the aperture. The closer you focus, the smaller the aperture. Flash.
Okay. Well, okay. That's increase your depth of field as you get closer.
Yeah. And you've got a flash gun on it.
Right.
You don't need a guide number.
Yeah.
It closes the aperture down to what you need as you get closer.
Clever.
And as you say, it also gives you better depth of field as well. He was a clever gentleman, so he did a lot. So that is the Bolsey C22.
Was the camera made in the USA as well?
Yes.
Oh yeah, Bolsey Corporation of America, New York.
That's it.
New York. But he was a Ukrainian immigrant.
Yes, he was. I mean, obviously, with a name like Jakub Polski, he was Jewish, and I think a lot of his emigrating was to flee persecution in various countries, and the anticipation that persecution might be coming. That's why he ended up.
But so many of the great, and as we learned from through your videos, and not just in photography, but so many great American inventions were actually immigrants that came in. They went to America because the environment was there for them to create.
We won't mention the hydrogen bomb.
Well, of course. Cool.
Now, off to Japan, about 1955, a company called Tugodo, which actually made a series of really nasty little snapshot cameras, little tiny miniature things. And then they came up with this and decided to put the twin lenses side by side. So it is a twin lens reflex, but as you focus it, both lenses focus in much the same way. And it's everything a twin lens reflex should be, except that instead of putting the lenses top and bottom, they put them side by side. So you have a waist level viewfinder there, and it's a 35mm camera. Now, I think I need to cut the shutter. There it goes.
And where's this from?
This is Japanese. It's a holder, for some reason, is a name variant. They're usually called the Toyota 35. I believe they changed this name probably for export purposes. Who knows why? I don't. But it is a very interesting camera, which, when one appeared miraculously on eBay.
You bet you spend a lot of time stalking on eBay, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. That particular one came on with offers, and I made an offer which was turned down, and then it disappeared. I thought, oh, someone else has bought it. I thought, and as a collector, sometimes it's a relief when you don't get something because they think, oh God, I haven't got to spend that money now, and then the seller put it back on eBay again.
Okay.
And I thought, well, that's fate. I better buy it.
Yeah. Right.
So we're nearly done now. 2 more to go. This is Japan again, and this is called a Samocaflex 35. Again, it's a 35mm camera, which works exactly like any twin lens reflex does. Focusing there, moves the lenses back and forth, and it's a 35mm camera. That should stay up, but doesn't. There you go.
Samocaflex. And what's the period?
This is about 1950 something. It's 1955. Yes, they're both rather nice, aren't they?
Yeah. The holder probably is the nicer looking. It looks slightly more Leica-y, doesn't it?
It does. It does. Yes, it does. Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah.
And we'll finish with something completely different. This is a Tessina, made in 1961, made by a company called Concava, made in Switzerland. One of only a few cameras made in Switzerland. The other compass we spoke about before was made in Switzerland. And it is a twin lens reflex. There's the viewing lens, which sends its image up to a little viewfinder there, which you can use like that. And that's the taking lens. But what is equally interesting is if I pull out this and this, that one, and I wind it up and I push it back, it's got a built-in motor drive as well, little clockwork motor drive. An exposure, exactly a calculator, but an indicator on the top. It took various accessories. You could get an eye-level pentaprism viewfinder to fit on there. And it also took a watch strap, which that plate comes off. You could put it on a watch strap and you could wear it on your wrist like that. So you'd wear it that way around.
Okay, yeah. That's interesting. I wonder if anyone did that.
Yes, I wonder. I've got.
Doesn't seem like a.
Yes.
Sounds like a clever idea in theory, but when you come to do it, you're like.
Well, yes, but you could have your sleeve over it, I suppose, and put it back. But so that's a Tessina, made in 1961.
And where's this from?
Switzerland.
Switzerland. Yeah, it says made in Switzerland on it.
Oh, there you go.
Nicely engineered again.
It
Very
is.
nicely put together.
Yes, there was that. There was the compass and the Alpha cameras, and I think that's about it for Switzerland. There might have been some other small companies I don't know about, but the three main cameras they made were absolutely fantastic. And of course, the Bolex cine cameras. It's 35mm.
It's hard to work out which is the front, which is the back, which is the top.
It is. You're right. It took 35mm, but not in cassette, so you can imagine a cassette won't go in there. It was preloaded onto its own very thin spools, and it took an image, I think, 14 by 21mm.
Okay, and when did this come out?
61.
61, right.
A whole different look. It all started with the Rolly. I think it started with the Rolleiflex and ended with that. It's very different.
That's really interesting. Hope you found that interesting. Are you interested in twin lens reflex cameras? Do you own any? Have you owned any? Would you like to own some? If you haven't seen our Rolleiflex video, then there'll be a link to that, and you should watch that one maybe first, perhaps, but certainly as well as this one. But otherwise, do tell us what you think of these in the comments below. Do like the video if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.